Welcome everyone to the podcast. Thank you so much as always for joining me. Today we're going to be talking about sleep, and we're going to be talking about actually the spiritual nature of sleep, but also some sleep hacks, because I know in conversation with many people there's a lot of pressure put on sleep, and in many ways understandably so, because it's the time for our body to rest and recuperate and regenerate. But there's also so much pressure put on how much we should sleep, why we should sleep, what kind of sleep we should have, that for those that are already in a heightened state of awareness and stress and that kind of like heightened nervous system activation, it is really hard to try and settle into the idea of sleep when there's so much pressure being put on it. As well, the reason why I'm talking about this today on the podcast is because I had somebody ask about sleep and our dream state in sleep and spiritual communication in sleep and all of that. So I'm going to touch on a lot of these different things today in this episode to give you some things to kind of chew on, to think about, to ponder, and also maybe some tools to help you get into that sleep state. Okay, so let's talk about sleep first of all from a spiritual perspective, okay? Dream state is one of the easiest states for spirit communication. Now, the reason why is because when we're in dream state, right, like when we go to sleep, when our body goes to bed, our body is doing all these kind of physical regeneration activities and clearing out things. The liver is most active at nighttime, clearing out toxins and all of this. At that time, our spirit gets to explore. Our spirit is connected to the body. Many people say it's always connected by a silver cord, that you can go anywhere and then like astral travel and such, and then come back into your body. First things first, some people fear that what if they can't get back into their body because there's experiences of like sleep paralysis and such. You cannot be kicked out of your body. I want to start with that. First of all, you cannot be kicked out of your own body in sleep state. You are energetically connected to your body from when you're born until you decide with your higher self that you're ready to pass. And only at that point is the silver cord, if we want to call it that, disconnected. So when you are asleep and you are out of your body with your spirit, it actually is kind of a relief to the body because the body has time to simply focus on the energetics needed to recuperate the physical vessel part, right? And the consciousness in there. So while that's happening, your soul is exploring all kinds of things. You can be exploring different places on this planet. You can be in different dimensions. You could be in different timelines, past, parallel, future timelines. You can be on different planets. You can even get to a point where you're comfortable enough that you're lucid dreaming, where you're consciously interacting in the dream, knowing it's a dream state and consciously choosing what you want to do. Now, in order to get to that kind of a dream state, though, we have to be open in our minds to dreams. So how do we get there in the first place? Sometimes, for some people, it takes a while to get into an open dream state, meaning I'm talking about the dreams that are more communicative versus just dreams that are the mind kind of playing through events from the day, right? And most of us know, like, when the mind is replaying events from the day, you can wake up the next morning and be like, I had the craziest dream of, A, B, and C happened, and they were all pieces of random things that happened to me yesterday, right? That is kind of a musing of the mind, pulling everything together, kind of stockpiling and filing things away. However, the dreams that I'm talking about are more of the really vivid ones, those vivid spirit communication dreams where either the spirit you were talking to, perhaps a past loved one or a spirit guide, that interaction is so incredibly vivid, like so vivid, it is so real to you and it stays with you when you wake up in the morning and throughout the day. Those ones are an entirely different experience of consciousness. Now, that's when a lot of past loved ones like to communicate with us, and it often happens shortly after they've passed. They can come into our dream state and they try to bring through a frequency that makes it vivid enough for us to remember it. often bringing through messages of like, I just wanted you to know that I'm okay, that kind of thing. I mean, I remember when my grandmother died when I was 15, we'd never really talked about her visiting me after she passed. I mean, I didn't know I was a medium then. So it wasn't something we talked about, but I remember after she passed, I had this instant knowing, this claircognizance that she was going to come visit me at nighttime. And at the time, it terrified me. Like, I was absolutely terrified by the idea of her showing up in my room as a ghost, even though I loved her dearly in life. And so for the first 2 weeks, I remember I went to bed with the lights on and like a pillow over my head so I wouldn't see anything, like just totally afraid. And after a couple weeks, it kind of simmered down. I finally relaxed and I could go to sleep normally again. And she came to me in this very, very vivid dream, where in the dream, she opened the door to my bedroom. I was asleep. I sat up in my bed and I was like, oh my gosh, you're here. And she had her white blouse and her royal blue slacks that she used to wear. And she walked in and I was like, oh my gosh, you figured out a way to do this without terrifying me. She's like, yeah, I've been waiting. I didn't want to make you afraid, but I wanted you to know that I'm okay. And she sat on the bed beside me and we had this conversation and she was like, I just want you to know I'm okay. Everything is okay on the other side. And I remember I woke up from that dream and it was so vivid. It's still vivid to this day when I recall that experience. Those are those really significant ones when spirit comes in with a frequency vivid enough so that we will remember it. Now, there's also, if we take it to the next level, there's opportunities when we get to astral travel in a dream. And that's where we feel like we've gone somewhere super vividly also. Like I remember one time I had a dream where I knew that I landed in China. I was literally in China and I was like, it's like I could feel my skin and I could feel the ground and I could look around, but I knew that I was dreaming, but I knew that I landed in China. And so we can have those really vivid dreams, and then we can go to the point where we can have these conscious interactions, this lucid dreaming in the dream, where we can actually choose what we want to happen in the dream, as conscious as we would choose if we want to have a tea or a coffee in this daily life. And all of these are just different levels of, it's basically your mind holding a different level of conscious frequency so that you can bring it back into your waking state with you. And so it just takes a little bit of practice is what I'm getting at. So for those of you, like where to start, for those of you that are feeling like you just can't dream, you can't remember your dreams, a really good thing to start with is to, when you lay down in bed, try and do a bit of a meditation or even just gentle breathing to calm your body and get yourself into a brainwave state that is not quite sleep, but get yourself into that state with the intent of remembering your dreams. So you can lay there and you can say, Spirit guides, I want to really remember my dreams. I'm feeling calm. I'm feeling peaceful. I would love conscious memory of my dreams. And for some people, it works right away. For others, it takes a while. But you start to be able to bring more of that higher frequency back into your waking frequency. It's like creating a pathway from there to your mind and waking frequency. You start to be able to create it the more you set the intention to do it. And then soon enough, you have a very clear pathway where you can be consciously interacting in that dream state to the point where you're in that dream and you're like, okay, I know I'm dreaming right now. This is cool, but I don't like this part of the dream. So I'm going to shut that off and I'm going to focus on this part of the dream. And let's actually change the background and make it tropical. And, like you can dictate the reality because you're holding that frequency. So it all starts with having the intent of how you want to dream and creating that pathway over time. And so if your desire is just to communicate with a loved one, it's putting that desire out. But here's the key with creating any kind of spiritual pathways. And this is the hardest thing, is you have to have the desire to manifest or create that pathway without the need to control how it happens or when it will happen by. And when we're wanting to communicate with loved ones, that is the hardest because we obviously want to communicate with them right away because we're missing them. And so that's a really hard one, is like, why haven't they communicated with me? Why can't I see them in dream state? I just really want this. I just really need this. Those are all very fair statements, but we have to set the intention and let it go for it to be brought back in a way that we can connect in with it. Because sometimes our desire for something is so much that it actually creates a very small frequency, a very limited frequency band that the energetics can't line up with enough to create that link. So the more you can kind of get yourself into that calm energy, set your intention of what you want, and then release it, the more you can start to create that link, okay? Now, for some people that are like, well, I can't even get into dream state, let alone sleeping properly, there's ways to go around it. So I'm sure many of you listening have heard of Yoga Nidra. Okay, so Yoga Nidra is a form of, it's like a restorative energetic practice that sort of mimics the energy of sleep in a certain way. And doing some research here just to give some insights is like when people practice 20 minutes of Yoga Nidra, that is the equivalent to about 2 hours of sleep. And what Yoga Nidra does is it basically takes you into this kind of body awareness. You move through recognizing parts of your body while relaxing each part of your body. And it allows like your body to go into sleep while your mind can stay in like an alpha state brainwave frequency where you are linking into conscious thought and the subconscious mind. And that's essentially where we want to go in that lucid dreaming state. And I mean, we can get into much finickier stuff, but for the point of this podcast, when we're in there, when we're in that kind of alpha wave state, we're actually releasing more serotonin. And so it actually allows the body to relax even more. And so you can, if you can't get into the sleep like you feel you should to get the 8 hours and to get the dreaming happening, you can actually bring yourself into a Yoga Nidra state and not only rest the body, but you can also then explore the conscious mind. But it's all about like surrendering through the body. It's quite fantastic. And so for those of you that are curious about doing Yoga Nidra, there's a lot of them available on YouTube. And I know when I was sick during the summer, I actually was doing Yoga Nidras regularly, like throughout the night, because I was up a lot. I would do Yoga Nidras to calm my body, and even during the day, you can do them. There are many available for sleep, to healing, to relaxation, to enhanced dream state. Like you can find so many of them on YouTube, and there are a lot of amazing people. The thing I would recommend with Yoga Nidra is to find someone whose voice is very soothing to you, because the voice makes a big difference. And the voice, there isn't one voice that is better than another. It's actually how you respond to the frequency of a person's voice. So some people might respond to a more male voice, like a lower, wider frequency, whereas others might like the calming, higher, gentle frequency of a female voice. Again, it's for you to kind of check out and see what you like. But using Yoga Nidra for the intent of connecting with loved ones, for the intent of entering into a better lucid dreaming state, can be a nice pathway to help bridge that, like to help create that pathway from where you're wanting to be to where you are. Yoga Nidra is a great way to do that. So it's something really interesting to explore. And one of my friends actually was at a conference just recently, and she was telling me that some new research studies are coming out that Yoga Nidra actually kind of mimics the way in which dolphins sleep. So if those of you don't know, when dolphins sleep, they actually only sleep one side of the brain at a time. So like the left hemisphere is sleeping while the right is awake, and then the right is sleeping while the left is awake. And that's how they do their sleep, so that they can still, be somewhat conscious to where they are. And it's so interesting because they're able to now compare that Yoga Nidra state to that same thing, where we're resting part of the brain while the other part of the brain can be very active, which is that spiritual connection part of the brain. And I find too, even in Yoga Nidras, I can hear what the person is saying as they're leading you through the body relaxation, But at the same time, I'm also completely aware of what's going on in either my vision state, because I'll get lots of visions in Yoga Nidra, or a lucid dreaming type state, or a very healing frequency state. I can be aware of both. And it's such a neat opportunity to open up your mind to different states of consciousness, because not all states of consciousness are just waking consciousness, just dreaming consciousness, or just meditation consciousness. And because you're being led through it by somebody, you're less likely to kind of get mucked up in the mix of it trying to do. You actually end up surrendering and following a little bit easier. So I would definitely encourage all of you to consider trying out Yoga Nidra, if only to experience the different brainwave frequency, so that when you're in that frequency in your dream state, you start to recognize it more. And again, once you can recognize it, you can become more conscious in it. And I have to tell you, conscious lucid dreaming is really eye-opening. It is so eye-opening. And the reason why is when you start to have really vivid experiences outside of this reality. And again, you don't have to be a medium or a channeler or a psychic to be able to lucid dream, okay? Anybody can do this. When you start to have those experiences, your idea of what reality is starts to really change. And you start to really realize that this embodiment here in this 3D reality is but one reality that you are a part of at this point. Because truly you are a part of so many more realities at any given time. And our dream state is a beautiful example of that you can explore. And it can actually be very fulfilling to the mind, body, and spirit to explore those other realms. You may find some of your lucid dream states actually end up being on a different planet, exploring perhaps a future lifetime of yours. And you might spend several nights or even months every night, right? Like every night, 4 months, exploring this other lifetime of yours. Perhaps you might even communicate with that future self of you. I know I've had communications with another self of me, actually parallel self of me, in a very lucid type meditative practice. And it is so fascinating. It's also very mind-bending, right? Like it is mind-bending when we start to embrace the idea that we're not just this reality. So lucid dreaming, like I said, a neat way to do it. And Yoga Nidra is a very neat way to start to experience those different brainwave states in a very safe, very healing and very beautiful way, very beautiful, natural way. And so it's really neat because here's one thing that I found out, or I was looking up some scientifically proven things about Yoga Nidra, because if any of you have joined my Cosmic Consciousness Circle, you know that I always like to add history or science to whatever it is I'm talking about from spirit, so it has has a foundation for those that really like a tangible piece of something, like it needs a platform. And so it said in some of these studies that the teams found that Yoga Nidra improved participants' slow wave sleep, also known as deep sleep, which also could improve their attention, learning, memory, and other cognitive tasks. And that they also saw faster responses in all cognitive tests with no loss in accuracy. And that's just spending time in that Yoga Nidra state. So if nothing else, spending time in that Yoga Nidra state, allowing your body to relax, allowing your body to settle and kind of separate a little bit from the mind, so that the mind can go have its experience, but the body can have its experience and the nervous system can completely calm. If nothing else, that is going to amplify your capacity in your life within this 3D reality. But even more than that, when you start to break into those lucid dreaming states and those higher states of consciousness, you also get to, it also enhances so much more of your life here. It enhances your critical thinking. It enhances your true desires of what really actually matters in this lifetime and what doesn't. It connects you deeper into yourself as a soul. It connects you more actually even into your body, because you begin to really admire the physicality of yourself here in this dimension versus your soul self in another one. It is fascinating, but it's a way to kind of open the door. So I really hope that this podcast kind of helps to bring some insights into that sleep state, how it can be useful, how we can travel in it, how we can explore, but also how we can rest the body and regenerate the body. And it doesn't have to happen with that 8 hours of sleep every night. It can happen through even Yoga Nidra. But your intention is what is so powerful in how you connect into the energy of sleep. And here's the other thing. If you really struggle with sleeping, oftentimes relaxing your body over a series of days or months, or maybe even just hours or minutes, that act of relaxation is teaching your body how to relax enough to then fall asleep anyway. So there are lots of people that start off doing Yoga Nidras for sleep that eventually find they don't even need to do Yoga Nidra anymore. Their body knows how to go into that relaxation state and go into a beautiful sleep state too. So it's a really neat gateway into several different things. So I hope that helps. I hope it helps answer some questions and inspire some exploration on your part. And I'll leave that with all of you for today. So thank you as always for joining me. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. And I do want to invite you to Cosmic Consciousness this Wednesday. I'm going to be talking about beautiful connections with Mother Earth and secrets that she is revealing that are useful for us now, how she is awakening. And it's very different. It's not even her awakening, actually. It's her ready to reveal even technology and dormant things. And this was all spirit inspired. So I'm very excited to share this with all of you. So if that's of interest, you can sign up at avalonspirit.com under Cosmic Consciousness. And I hope to see you there. So have a beautiful rest of your day, everyone. And I will see you all next week.